Now, I do want to move over to the Giants because they're a team that I think is moving in the right direction. I think they got the coach, and now it's kind of that final year for with Gettleman and Jones. This is now they're going to have to show themselves, and they're probably going to have to make the playoffs. The NFC East probably won't be that good, so maybe they have a chance. But Nick, as our resident Giants fan here, what do you feel like they do to get better here to kind of build off of their season last year and kind of, I guess, save Gettleman's and Jones's job?
The first thing, of course, is to hope that the progress is continued through next season.
Yeah.
What the Giants showed, they had some games where easily they could have come out with a victory and taken that playoff spot. They had some games where they just looked absolutely terrible. But in the best terms, we want to see that growth, of course. And then I think in terms of free agency, I would say a number one receiver might be the best move. I mean, of course, every team wants to boost their receiving core, but for the Giants, it's unclear who's really that number one guy. Is it Slayton because that's Daniel Jones' favorite target? Is it Sterling Shepard? Even Golden Tate used to get a lot of targets. I don't think he's in the conversation, but there's not a real clear-cut number one in that Giants receiving core. So, of course, you'd want to see Allen Robinson. I don't think it's going to happen. My number one target for the Giants would be Kenny Golladay. He was hurt a lot last season, but he's a big target, a big physical threat. I would love to see him kind of, come over to New York, take the talents, and see what he can do with Daniel Jones. In terms of the offensive line, it gets a little more difficult to determine because could we go out and sign someone? Yes. But we've got a lot of guys competing for time, a lot of young guys who hopefully can continue to grow. Nate Solder should be coming back next season. I'm not sure how well he'll fit again now that he's getting older and he missed the whole season, but he should be able to fit back in there somewhere. So I guess really the best thing for the Giants would be get a number one. And then, of course, I don't know why I'm waiting now to mention it, you got to get Leonard Williams back.
Yeah.
Because that dude is a top pass rusher in the league. The Giants D-line has just stepped up in so many ways that I did not expect. The entire Giants defense did. But I would think it's a crime, almost similar to a LeMahieu type thing, where a guy who was just so consistent for your team last season, if you don't bring him back, it's terrible. I'm not sure if they're going to use a franchise tag on him. It's very likely they could, but also who knows what Gettleman wants to do. He's made a lot of wild card moves here and there. Some have worked, some haven't. But again, this is really, like you said, the deciding year for the Giants. What direction are we going in? Can we make it work with Jones, Gettleman? Can we make it work? Hopefully Saquon Barkley comes back and he's even better than he was. Tough after that injury, but I'm very optimistic. You have no reason not to be with this Giants team, who, if they just won a couple more games, would have been in the playoffs and potentially could have beat the champs in the first round.
First off, I can't let you slide comparing Leonard Williams to DJ LeMahieu.
Oh, yeah. That was
defensive line. Second of all, I make the case that it's not a 100% you re-sign him because of that price tag. I think Gettleman made a really big mistake tagging him last year when you could have got him on a way more controllable contract. And after his 11-plus sack year, you're going to have to give him big money. Do you want to pay a D-tackle 17-plus as a starting point per year? He's going to command a lot of money because he just had a great year. If you want to keep Dalvin Tomlinson, who had a nice year instead, for way cheaper, I would suggest that. So I think the Giants have to be smart here because I don't think they can afford to overpay Leonard Williams a monster deal. They have to be careful if they re-sign him. I know a lot of Giants fans who, obviously you guys love Leonard Williams. I know a lot about him. He was with the Jets, never as good as last year though. So I think you do have to be careful here with Leonard Williams. This team has other needs, so you can't tie up all your money, put all the eggs in one basket. As you said, a receiver could be really nice, as I think Gettleman at this point, he's tied to Daniel Jones. It looks like they're going to give them both one more shot.
Yep.
So if they both, if Gettleman doesn't give Jones the right pieces at receiver, then he's going to fail too. So I think you have to look there. Giants, obviously we know this league isn't linear. If it was, we'd see the Giants would keep building. But the reality of the league is a few injuries, you could take a huge step back. So you have to be smart here. It's a huge offseason. It's the offseason of Jones' Giants career, Gettleman's Giants career, and you have to spend your money wisely. You have to hit on some picks because, as we brought up earlier, the East is not going to be, some powerhouse this year. You're really going to be able to win it if you put together some competent football. You almost won it last year at 6-10. So I think the Giants do have to improve, and they have to be smart about it. Leonard Williams, bring him back on the right deal, but I would not overpay him a monster deal and cripple your cap in other areas of need.
First of all, the franchise tag is never a good move. I mean, just ever. I mean, it's a rule of thumb. When you look at what's happening with Dak right now, I mean, the Cowboys are they're just building their own grave with that, I feel. I mean, and it always happens. Like, I remember when the Saints franchise tagged Jimmy Graham and then they traded him. And then just I feel like every year it's never good. And you talk about this Leonard Williams situation. I think they end up signing him long term just because I do think that this Giants defense was so good last year. They're like, let's bring everybody back together. And you talk about, I think defense is, more, I feel, if you could bring guys back multiple years and build that, communication and all that stuff, that's really, really important. And I think they will do that. And Leonard Williams, I mean, he, like, this is his first big year, but he was like a top 5 pick, top 6 pick. So he has all that potential. And I mean, if he's going to do this every year, 12 sacks, I mean, that's huge for the Giants. And he does garner the big deal. And I mean, we'll see how much he gets. But I mean, to me, I think the Giants are going to build this offense probably this free agency period. I do think a wide receiver, you have to fill it. I mean, maybe it's not going to be the big name, but you have to get someone else there. I mean, they did sign Golden Tate a few years back when they traded Odell, but that didn't work out. So they have to find someone else. And then you have Darius Slayton, but he's not a number 1. So maybe you do it through the draft, but I mean, if I'm the Giants, I probably draft more young guys at offensive line. I think that's actually a really good moves to keep on building that O-line through the draft. That's how you do it, because sometimes when you try to get the big free agency signing, it doesn't work out and you gave them a lot of money and then you're stuck. So I do think that building through the draft is the best option. And I feel like this team, I mean, I see them taking that next step. I really do, because I like Joe Judge and what he's doing. And I think they'll be smart with their moves. And if I was going to add to that defense, I'd add someone to pair with Blake Martinez. We just saw in the Super Bowl with, I mean, the Bucs, what they were, Levante David and Devin White running around the field. I mean, you do have that first, you have that main piece, you have that captain with Blake Martinez and like kind of like Levante David, but now you need that speedster like Devin White, and maybe they go out and get him. That would also maybe be through the draft, but that's just kind of the 2 places that I would add for the Giants.